Okay, got a selection of exercises that we can use with our Mugai Ryu to keep our body strong. These don't have to be with heavy weights, something light and just lots of repetitions is absolutely fine. So we're going to go through, let's say, muscles that we would use. So when we're lifting, hands above our head, when we do a cut, twisting, turning the body, do some stood and some on the floor. So start with biceps, the simple bicep curl. Take the weight from the hip to the shoulder. So 2 or 3 sets, anything up to 12, 15 repetitions, depending on how heavy your weight is, how you feel. So triceps, muscle at the back of the arm. A few different things we can do here. We have a tricep extension, extending the arm. At this point here is where the triceps to be contracted. And do the opposite arm using a band. So you see different ways of doing this. Main thing is that you keep the shoulder stable. Use a band for the opposite one. Band just through the hand onto my shoulder, taking hold of the end of the band. And the same thing, but this time pulling the band. So there's other options as well, and you can lift the weight behind the head. What I tend to find with that is some people then jut forward, they jut their chest and their neck, their head forward, causes a lot of tension through their back. Whereas with those two options, you can bend forward slightly, but you're not going to put so much strain on your back. There's other options as well. Where you can be lying down and bend the elbows in, working the backs of the arms that way. So lots of different options, but I find those two are quite good. So next we're going to look at sort of into the side of the body and the shoulders. Okay, so lateral muscles and shoulders. So for this one, I'm going to take the weights out into the corners of the room and bring the elbows down. So this is working muscles through the shoulders as I'm lifting, but then through the middle of the back, traps, rhomboids. So I think this is called VW. Hands are lifted in a V, hands come down in a W. Now we can also do something similar with a resistance band. So do one side at a time, with one arm in the air, the other hand comes out to the side, and that same thing, I'm going to pull the elbow into the side, right, tight into those ribs. Okay, same on the other side. So this time, going to lift the arms up and lower, so front raise. So you're working into the shoulders, but also because we're taking the weights away, you need to really use these core muscles to support our back. So working deep into the shoulders. This is particularly useful exercise when we are cutting in front, because we're going across, so lifting a weight away from the body helps strengthen those muscles. Next one we're going to do is kind of mimicking a cut where the sword's coming overhead, so lifting a sword high. And again, a bit of a tricep thing here, but I can throw the weight forward. So again, working muscles all the way through my upper and middle back with this. Again, pulling in these core muscles as well, supporting the spine. So you might want to add some more work for the upper body by simple overhead press, and you could do one arm at a time or two at the same time. So another exercise, this time for wrist and forearm. So when we're holding the sword, we tend to notice that forearm strength improves as well. So with this one, just going to bring the elbows into the side, and I'm simply going to let the wrist drop and curl. Drop and curl. So by bringing the elbows into the side, I'm just isolating these muscles that I'm using. Next exercise I'm going to do, I'm going to use a band, and I'm going to use a chair. So this is a chest press, or you could also do this on the floor, use it as a floor press. And the band's going to come around and under the arms. It could go around the chair if the back of the chair is higher. Making a good grip and extend away. So you could do this on the floor with dumbbells or a bar, and you're going to be using gravity to help. Whereas if you're sat up, a band is really good, because that band wants to try and pull us back, so we're restricting our movement. So again, using the chair, we're going to do a row. So you make sure that band's super tight around this chair. And I'm going to take hold of the other end of the band, and I'm going to pull the band, see that, leading with the elbow. So I'm bringing the shoulder blades together. Could also do this with a weight. Again, using the chair is always good, and bringing the elbow back, squeezing into that shoulder blade. Again, make sure you remember to do both sides. So if I haven't got a chair, I can do a bent over row, again bringing the elbow So next exercise, again, have the band around. This is going to work, we'll do fly back and front fly. So take the band under the arms again, out to side, bending the elbows, bringing the hands, elbows in towards each other. opposite. There's a band in front and pull the band away. So if I have dumbbells, okay, out to the side, back in. Is really good for oblique muscles. So a few options here. Simple holding a weight, or we don't even have to hold a weight, and twisting to the side and keeping the hips facing forward. Just noticing if you're tighter on one side to the other. Now we've got a chair, so if we can again attach a band. And make sure this band's tight. Mine's not particularly tight here. And again, we're going to secure the chair down and move to the side, keeping those hips again facing forward. Moving the band by turning the body. And then do same on the opposite side now. To the arm, same arm. So it works a little different, and then you swap hands. And make sure you keep breathing when you're doing these. And the opposite side. Keep that band in the same hand. So, lots of different versions of working those oblique muscles, the muscles at the sides of the body. So, muscles for the abdominal. We all know about crunches and things, but if you're not so keen to be on the floor, you don't have to do those on the floor. As long as you're folding forward, crunching those tummy muscles, then that's still going to be doing an effective workout. Another thing that you can do for oblique and core muscles is taking opposite elbow to knee, and this really helps with your balance as well. So you can bring down and crunching this area as you twist. Okay, so doing the same on the other side. And you can even do those seated as well. You're going to do little crunches seated, with your hands here, and just pulling those tummy muscles tight as you roll forward and back up. You can have your arms folded, do the same thing. Sumo squat's always a good one to start with, nice wide stance. Taking your knees out, make sure those knees follow in line with where your toes are aiming for, and you're keeping the back nice and straight. Tailbone tucked under. So say if you want to add some back strength into all of these at the same time, if you've got your bands, my bands are not particularly long, unfortunately, so narrow. So this is already building some strength. And squat down and lift. So he's squeezing through the legs at the same time. So this is building some resistance as I lengthen the legs, squeezing the glutes, squeeze the muscles through the legs. And you could do the same holding a weight as well. So both weight or one weight. Not going to get quite the same as holding a resistance band. You can hold the weights in front. Thing here, holding those weights. And if you can go lower on that squat, then really pushing through those muscles as you come back up to stood. Careful with lunges. What I tend to find is that people they don't step long enough, and so the knee goes over where the toe is, or the back leg wobbles. So you can hold on to a chair for extra support if taking the stance wide worries you, if you're off balance. Always find a point, and we step back nice and long, and we can straight down. So see, we're looking for angle in both of those knees. So I'm not pushing forward so the knee comes over my toe and back. So it weights 50-50 on the ball of the toes of the rear foot coming downward. So I don't want this front knee to roll in, and I want the back leg to feel super strong as well. Okay, so for variation on the squat, so you do the opposite as well, opposite leg as well. Now the variation is to step out to the side and lunge to the side. So different, because it's going to work the inside of the leg, as this. But again, you don't want that knee shooting over. So it's working a different set of muscles here. Looking outer and inner. So we step in and we take that stance the opposite side. So working the opposite muscles. Option for a squat is a sit to stand. So on a chair, again we can use weights or bands. And again I'm holding that weight. Feet at hip distance apart, tucked in slightly towards the chair, and using the core muscles and my legs, pushing myself up to stood and down, and don't crash down onto the chair. So see that because I'm holding, so I'm not going to be pushing myself up through pushing on the chair. Then I could do the same thing with a band under my feet, holding onto the band, coming up. Now I can shorten the band if I want to do. So for those of us that practice our kneeling, seated katas, we want to do some strength exercising and some proprioception exercises from our kneeling position. Can mimic the moves that we do for our kata. And this one is just simply laying feet on the backs of the feet on the mat, shins on the mat, and simply lifting and lowering. Now what makes this training specific is that we don't want to stick our bum out, we want to lift in a quiet manner. So what I mean quiet, not moving around. And we should notice that through the quads, big powerful muscles at the front of the legs. So then moving on from there, bringing a leg forward. So lift, forward. Again, we don't want to rock to the side, so this really works. It's what we class as an unstable position because we're lifting one leg in front. And then when we're in this position, we want to just check that our core muscles are being locked in, maybe tucking that tailbone under as well to help. And what we don't want to do is just be trying to anchor ourselves with our back leg. Really think about this, but also what this front knee's doing as well. It would be really easy for this knee to just drop in, but we want the knee to be kept in line with our hip. Now, same thing as we come back, it's easy to kind of rock and bring the knee back. So again, just take it one bit at a time. You want to lock in the core muscles, bring the foot forward. Do it the same as we reverse, so lock in, back down. Same on the other side. From that, we can add some of the exercises that we've done, being stood or seated. We can do them kneeling. So what I like to do for around usual core muscles is a twisting in this sort of lunged position. So foot forward again, bring the weight here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist away from this front leg, and what I'm training here is with the hips as well, that the hips are not going to twist, the knee's not going to rock in. Okay, so keep the weight in front. Lock this knee into position. And twisting away from the knee. And also the knee's not going to shoot out that way, it's not going to counter move. Okay, do the same on the other side. Way that we can do similar move. The band is under the front foot. Take the band with one hand or both hands and twisting again away from that knee. Both hands. Again, do the same on the opposite foot. If we then want to emulate kata, you might want to bring the right foot forward. Imagine we're drawing the sword, maybe for a cut from across or a diagonal cut. And we can work from the hip and take the weight across. And you could do this one seated as well. So again, leading all again from these core muscles. Okay, so wanted to go up. And if I wanted to be specific on where I wanted the cut to finish, again, I would do the same with where my arm finishes. So doing single arm. And again, remember to do the opposite side. So may not necessarily even be a kata that you perform on the opposite side, but you want the body to be symmetrical, so to do both. So again, taking that even higher. We spoke about overhead. So again, you could do this in this position. Again, lift the knee. Hope you enjoyed just going through with how I would practice a few times a week. I do strength and conditioning training myself as a triathlete, and do very similar things to what I've done there. So, but it's really nice that I can bring other sports and arts that I do and bring them all together. So whatever we're doing, it's important that for our mental health and strength, as well as our physical body, to continue with our practice in whatever way we can.